So in the post-hug chill, we can talk about anything. If you got something you want to ask me about, I can't tell too much about the work project that I'm in the middle of, or not middle of, the beginning of, because it's still in that state of creating. Yes, April. So if you missed the intro, this is the location of the new company that I'm working with. So I got here for my first day about noon, set up to shoot Hug Nation, and then I'm going to start work as soon as we're done here. So I'm far from home and with a new team of amazing people, and very excited and kind of nervous. How's the yoga been going? Actually, that's a unfortunate. I hurt my back a few weeks ago. I don't know if I remember that. So, it's I haven't done yoga since. So luckily I've kind of had mild back issues since then, but nothing terrible. But I've kind of been bad about getting back into yoga. So I'm hoping with a new routine that maybe I can kind of get back into it, at least on a small scale, because if there's anything that makes yoga hard to, consistent yoga is awesome. Starting anything up sucks. Thank you, Life Shadows. I realized that as I was talking about being present, that I was questioning, like, oh, should I have explained this? So like, oh, I'm not present. Kaki, I better hold off on saying I better hold off. What do I do every day to remember your sacredness? Oh, what an awesome question. Hello, Humgroove. And that's one that sometimes I fall out of. When I'm home, I've got my kind of hangout, the place where I'm on the computer all the time, where unfortunately the computer is a place where I am easy to slip out of sacredness, but I have plants everywhere. And I find that plants to me and gardening, I don't really garden in the garden as much anymore, but I've got a bunch of house plants that anytime, to me I find that to be an awesome reminder of being surrounded in miracles and the sacredness of life. Lately I've been pretty good about being reminded when I'm in bed and my lover is lying next to me, and I'm reminded of how many hours of my life I was just wanted somebody to love and love me. And so if I can sink back into that awareness that this soft, beautiful creature sleeping next to me is in many ways the alpha and omega of my dreams, I think that is another way that sacredness is reflected back to me on a daily basis. On a weekly basis, Hug Nation is by far the huge one. And then, the communication I get from people based on, the cool thing about having so many videos on YouTube is that I get comments like every day from people who might watch an old one, and then they will remind me of that. And so that's such a gift. So that's a great question, and it's something that I wish I was better about it. But when people ask me for advice on what number one thing that almost every happiness speaker talks about is doing a gratitude list. It's doing a little recalibrate your baseline. If you watch my TEDx talk, I talk about Crapper Cone and how Grandpa was, and just that kind of, it's kind of what I was talking about today, about how it's not letting the world dictate to you what you should be focusing on, but instead choosing. And all you really do by choosing, I don't mean neglecting the world, I simply mean picking out things that you've enjoyed and anchoring your focus to it for just a second. I'm having a good hair day, even though my roots are a little long. I'm having a good hair day. Gratitude. I'm wearing an old Hug Nation shirt. I've always been a fan of this logo. Somebody noticed it today and said, who did that logo? I was like, oh man, gratitude. I had very little traffic issues. Gratitude. My car was great. Gratitude. Had some great suggestions of podcasts to listen to on the drive here, so it went breezy cheesy. Gratitude. So when did I do the talk at UCSD after last week? I think so. What day was that? Yeah, so it was Wednesday last week. Oh, right. Okay, so this was something I was super excited about, and I was also kind of nervous about because I'll tell you a little bit how it went. So it was a class on behavior modification, and the TA said, "Oh, it would be great if you could come in. One, I think these kids could totally use this message, but two, the way that you did your TED Talk, talking about how you used to be and how you are now, and how you kind of shifted some behaviors based on shifting the way you look at certain things in the world, I think that's a really cool example of real-world behavior modification." And I was like, sweet, okay. And then she was like, I was thinking of assigning them to watch your TEDx, and then you could come in and just discuss it. And I got some good advice recently from a professional speaker saying, say yes to every speaking engagement and speak as much as you can. And so I was like, what if I gave the TEDx talk there? And he's like, that would be even better. So I was like, sweet. So and it'd been a long time since I'd given that exact talk. But I realized that I should, one thing that professional speakers do is they don't go off the cuff like I do every week. They have, or even like off an outline, usually have set stories and set ways. And that's one reason why the TEDx works so well, is because I practice and practice and practice until I knew the best way to tell certain stories. And I've told it a couple times since and tweaked it a few times, but, really know, what beats hit and what gets laughs. Although it's funny, a classroom of undergraduates is not really the comedy audience. There was a few times that I was like really funny and they were like, what? But so it's a class on behavior modification. So I stand up and I'm like, they introduce me and I'm like, wait, did you see this as a class on behavior modification? Like, yeah. I'm like, I thought you said body modification. I've got like 20 slides of nipple rings. I'm so embarrassed. And then I said, no, actually, you may recognize me from the splat hair dye. And I put up a slide of me with splat hair dye. And everyone's been like, what is he talking about? I go, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I was raised in a Skinner box from the age of 2 to 14. And people are like, what? Like, okay, no, that's not true either. Actually, we've put buzzers under most of the chairs out here. So when you find that I'm starting to become boring, I want you to hit the buzzer. It'll give me a small electric shock. And, okay, that's not true either. None of it's true. Well, I was on the hair dye box, but actually the real reason I'm here is because my life story has involved a certain element of behavior modification. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, can you imagine their faces? There were some people that were like totally busting up, and there were some people who were like, what's happening? The teacher afterward is like, this was much different than what I normally do in this class. I was like, oh, thank you, I think. But a few people really liked it and came up to me afterwards, which is great. The thing that I forgot to do is, or, between me and the TA forgot to do is, I didn't tie it all back in at the end to behavior modification. I kind of gave my talk finished, and then we had a Q&A. And his goal was more for them to hear about the lesson, more so than about relating it to school. So I guess I need to check back in. I guess on Thursday of last week, or whatever, I guess the next class when they met, they were going to talk about my talk and kind of connect the dots and say, remember how he said he did this? And he said that he used to think that, charity was this, and then he changed his thoughts, and that changed his behavior, and that kind of thing. So it was fun. The cool thing, it was great because I was a little nervous, but once I got going, I had a blast. I totally had fun. I think it was really good. I never know if I should record or not if I'm doing it. But I didn't record it, but it went really good. And I don't know what when we start thinking about talking about that. But anyway, it was a cool reminder of so that was a great day. So that morning, agreed to start working with this group, and that afternoon gave my guest lecture at a college campus, which is such a kind of a dream come true. All right, so a little suggestion that Lotus Burn says, can we talk about if a lover won't call back? If it's like someone you want and desire, how do you attract them in a healthy way? Well, my instinct is to kind of shudder at the question. Because all we really can control is the way we feel. And if somebody else doesn't feel a certain way, all your choice is, does that change the way I feel? They don't love me back. Does that change my feelings for them? Yeah, kind of. For me, like, I see, and through my years and on TV, I see on friends, I'll see people who, like, they'll totally, like you're saying, she's the girl for me, I just, I need to wear her down, or I'm going to keep asking. For me, the minute somebody doesn't like me, I am not interested. That is the farthest thing from me. But there's a great line in the movie Adaptation when, the cool brother or the smart brother is talking to the dumb brother, and the dumb brother's talking about how he had a crush on this one girl, and the smart brother's like, dude, she never even liked you. She was making fun of you. And he's like, and the dumb brother's like, oh, I know. But, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's basically like, yeah, but I can control. It's up to me who I love. So I think it's a beautiful thing. So, that being said, with the desire, if you want somebody that doesn't want you back, I think the key to that equation is trying to do some work on yourself and why you're having this feeling. Because there's a few things that are at play. It could be a chemical thing where you're feeling like this excitement and this high that you relate to this person. It could be that they remind you or trigger something in you, the same way that people get triggered, by, oh my gosh, I'm so turned on by feet. Like, it's something about this person that's triggering you. If you do not have a relationship with it, the things that play there are more about attachment, are more about desire or lust or chemical brain pattern stuff than it is about a real loving connection. I'm not sure if that sounds yucky to hear, but that's the way I believe. You can still choose to love someone, but and maybe the answer to your question is simply, well, I'm going to demonstrate myself at my highest. And if this person responds to that, well, then we have something. We have a connection of some sort. If they are not a vibrational match with me at my best, then this is a waste of my time to try to make it work. And it's destined for suffering for one or both of us. Hopefully that helps a little bit. You know, I mean, the reality, I like that that's people respond to that, demonstrate myself at my highest, because that, if that is not what your relationship is doing, then it's time to do a little bit of work on yourself and yourself in that relationship. You know, all your relationships really should be people that are inspiring you to be at your best. That doesn't mean you don't slip and fall. It means that they role model for you, or they see you in a way that allows you to be great. And again, I'm not saying great is like a value of like, you know, better than. No, just, I mean, so much of our stumbles, so much of our failures, so much of our weakness is because that's what we perceive, and so that's what we step into. You know, Jacob Glass says that you don't live the life you deserve, you live the life you think you deserve. How many people have seen like a guy and a girl and they're like, what? That guy must be rich. Actually, I bet he just is confident and believes that he deserves it. And his person he's with responded to that. I was going to say something else about that. Being your highest self. Maybe I'll remember. Demonstrate yourself. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Okay, so that's a good suggestion too, Jay. The past video about holy versus special relationships. I think it's holy versus special, which is based on some lessons in A Course in Miracles that can kind of help you see sometimes if you're in a special relationship pattern and why that is causing you suffering and why you want to aspire to have holy relationships with everybody in your life. So one thing I wanted to mention about seeing yourself at your highest, somebody pointed this out to me at the Jedi convention a couple weekends ago. They were talking about the Dalai Lama and how, what's the Dalai Lama's name and title? His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. When he is greeted, when he is introduced, his name is His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. So even the truth is that all of us are holy. All of us are in these divine presence, and all of us are capable of divine connections. But he goes so far as to say, to start from that place. Greet me at this place of holiness, and that's where we will begin our connection. And it makes a difference. And I never really thought about that, but I think it's a significant thing. It reminds me sometimes of how, you know, like when I show up for Hug Nation, I show up as His Holiness Halcyon. I mean, not really like His Holiness, but I do show up as my highest self as best I can. And part of it is because that is the expectation that I have set and we have set, and we all try to be at our best. And sometimes, you know, that's all it takes to start where you know, change your baseline to being at your best. Sometimes people will approach me at Burning Man, and you know, they may have watched a video that clicked with them, and it put them in a good place. And so they approach me where I played this special, holy role in their path. And so when I'm approached from that place, I feel compelled to meet them in a humble, you know, way as best possible in that holy place. And so, and, you know, and when I'm saying holy, I'm not saying, you know, like I think sex is holy. I think that dancing is holy. I think that, you know, we talk about finding sacredness in the everyday. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of holiness and this kind of But I think that the people in our life, if we have holy relationships, they remind us of our best. And they allow us to have fun and sing and dance and do all of the things that we do from our highest place. A Fulte says, I think he clings to his robes and title. If he dropped those two things, would anyone listen to him? Well, you make a good point, but I would argue that how many of the most Zen, Tao-centered teachers in our world do we never pay attention to because they don't care about fame, they don't care about microphones, they don't care about prestige. They simply walk the walk of integrity and divinity. You know, I don't think that's a negative thing. I think that it's beautiful that we've got someone like the Dalai Lama. Our Elijah says, do I ever feel guilty when I'm away and I don't see my family for a while? How would you calm down and keep the focus on what you feel is right, even though it's far away from home? That's a great question. And you know, I'll be honest that one of the reasons why I live in San Diego and, you know, even coming here is hard is because my family's in San Diego. And so I don't go too long without seeing them. I went to a play and dinner with my parents 2 weekends ago, and I saw my nephews 2 weekends ago. And I usually see them at least once a month, generally twice a month. And I have my relationship with my family is one of my deepest, most profound treasures. Okay, that being said, what would I say to your question about the guilty and stuff? Because I know a lot of people that do not see their family as much. One, I would say that, there's a few things at stake. One is do you want to see them? Do you miss them? You know, do you think of them? Even if you're capable of doing a small gesture, you know, if your family's got text messages, send in a text just saying, thinking of you, or take a picture of yourself and send them a picture a couple times a week, goes a long way to staying in someone's life without taking a huge amount of time and energy from you. I think the tougher question is, what if you don't really want to hang out with them? You know, you don't really want to call them. You don't really want to. They can't see the world like you do. They don't appreciate the things that you do. They don't think that your goals are valid, or they bring you down, or they make you feel guilty, or whatever. And if that's the situation, well, then I think that answers its own questions of if you should feel guilty or not. You know. Your family is there's no right amount of time to spend with your family. And it's really it's up to you to find the balance of guilt and joy. One of my dearest friends has a bizarre relationship with his mom where they talk on the phone every day. And every day it's a little traumatic for him, it's a little stressful. But to not talk to her would be more pain for him because he knows it would cause her pain. I always try to, give him permission that, he does enough and that if she gets upset, that's okay. But, I also value that his truth is his truth. So you do Skype daily. Oh, well, I don't know. I guess sitting with the guilt feeling and trying to understand what is exactly that you're feeling guilty of. Are you feeling guilty that you are pursuing your life? There was a pillow in my grandparents' cabin. It had embroidery on it that I always liked. It said, maybe it was on the wall. It was embroidery that was framed. That's what it was. Actually, I don't know. How much can I trust my memory? If we've learned anything today, it's that. somewhere related to my grandparents and embroidery, I have this memory of the saying, there are two gifts we can give our children. One is roots, and the other is wings. And sometimes a parent is not aware of that, and so that they feel very hurt that you are actually expressing the wings. And what I try to sometimes do when people are feeling that kind of pain is saying, if your parents were in their right mind, I know they're probably hurting and they have attachment feelings, but if they were in their right mind, would they not want you happy? Wouldn't that be their highest joy? Isn't that what, their deepest purpose is for you to be happy? So sometimes you have to take the steps, the tough love of doing what your higher purpose is, because it is the higher state of love for everyone involved, even if there's some pain and frustration in the process. Well, look at all these people using Skype to stay together with their family. It should be like, it's almost like a commercial for Skype. I should get you guys using Google Plus and Hangouts. Jade Owl says, how about holy versus special relationships with the self? That is it's the same thing. A special relationship is when you have some sort of, expectation and you judge, and it's the holy relationship with the self is one of total forgiveness and love for what you are. And it is from that acceptance of love that you actually grow. When you're beating yourself up, when you're feeling like you're not enough, or you weren't productive enough, or that's falling into a special relationship with the self, where there's a right way that you need to be to fill your needs, to fill the hole that is. It could be in a holy relationship filled with faith. Sweet, no ads today? Maybe I paid my bills or paid my dues or something. I agree, April. I've had trouble converting to Google Hangouts, but I spent the weekend with some Google folk who are encouraging me to start a dialogue with them so I can get everything, at least know that my complaints are legit and they can't help me. Tell them to fix screen sharing. All right. Well, I will try to include that in my email. We have just got about 5 minutes left. I got to say, I'm not sure if there's going to be a happy hour tonight. I will plan on at least logging in for a chat. Because of the situation here, I feel like I'm already leaning heavily on the kindness of the team here. So it may be presumptuous to try to get back online at 6. But I may try to get online a little bit later. I'll try to update the Hug Nation page as soon as I know a little better, if anyone's interested in gathering again today. The views? What are the views? How do I find that? Well, Oh, hey, I mentioned Mike Posty and I just got a message from him. See how the universe is like, wow, that's a lot of Ustream views. That's well, let me just close by saying that it means a lot to me to be able to have you guys hold my hand for my first day of school. And I don't know what the future holds, but I appreciate being able to share my excitement. I look forward to being able to share even more. Possibly see you guys in a few hours. Otherwise, maybe see some of you in San Diego, or maybe in LA coming up. Otherwise, see you online as soon as possible. Thank you for making today and all Tuesdays and all days and all moments so magical just by being you and allowing your light to shine. I'm so grateful. I love you. Have an amazing day.